Here I is. Here I is. Here I is. What's good, everybody? What's good? It's it is what it is. I guess we are in this place one more again, and we are about to do the damn thing. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, your homie, your mans and them. I am Brian Redmond, and this is the Relationship Rehab. And on tonight, we are going to do something a little different. I am going to talk briefly about Kobe Bryant, aka the Black Mamba, aka old number 8, aka number 24, aka the one better than Mike, aka that ain't true. But nevertheless, Kobe Bryant, the athlete, the man, and the father. For those of you who don't know, well, everybody knows that ain't no. If you don't know, we all know what it is now, and as shocking and as unbelievable it may be, and those of you we don't want to accept it, we don't want to acknowledge it, but man, Kobe Bryant is no longer amongst the living. Him and his daughter and 7 other people are dead. Hold on one second. Hey, what's up, nephew? What's going on? Are you finna go live? Yeah, I'm live right now on my show. All right, man. I was just calling to say happy birthday. All right, thanks, man. I hit you up after. It's not gonna be long. All right, man. All right, later. Thanks, nephew. I love you, man. All right. And essentially that's what happened. He died in a plane crash. And one of the things I haven't gotten, it's been a lot of speculation stuff going on. They haven't given the full report from the National Safety Board, Transportation Safety Board, there's the NTSB. They haven't confirmed exactly as to what's happened, but there's been a lot of speculation. And one of the things that I heard this morning, I think that was this morning, it was late last night, I don't know, I've been watching so much of it. But one of the things I heard, and I hope that this is not true, but it really is pointing that way, is that it actually angered me, is that the air traffic control or whoever the powers that be that let you go up and down or whatever, they grounded all traffic, all air traffic. They grounded all of the safety vehicles. So like the police, the fire department, everybody else, the ambulance, all of those people, everybody was like grounded. And this is what I've been hearing. I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but I've been hearing that all the air traffic was grounded due to the fall. And I guess some kind of way, whether, I don't know if they didn't get the alert or if Kobe Bryant used his celebrity and his clout, because he absolutely does have clout, to actually fly anyway. And when I heard that, I that was this morning because I was getting dressed. So I heard that this morning and I instantly said, you gotta be fucking kidding me. That was the first thing out of my mouth. I literally just lost my language this early in the morning while my daughter was getting dressed and I'm getting dressed, my wife getting dressed, we all getting ready for work and school. And I heard that on Good Morning America, like as I was getting dressed. I wasn't watching, I just heard it. And I said, you gotta be. And I went and looked to see. And if that was the case, then that is a whole nother level of just, I feel bad, period. But that angered me just to think about the possibility of that. And I say that because so many times do we have opportunities to do certain things. And yes, we all have schedules. Yes, we all have things we got to get done. And we get lost in the midst of doing things that we forget the simple things like safety. And when you do those kind of things, it's like you don't expect the worst. You don't wish the worst to happen. but safety precautions are in place for a reason. You know, think about how many planes had to crash before they came up with air traffic control grounding flights. Think about how many times you've been at the airport and your flight has gotten delayed, your flight has gotten canceled. I remember last year I was actually flying. I was flying from Michigan to Chicago to Dallas to DFW. I was flying from those three places, trying to get back home because I had moved to Texas, but we were still in Michigan. My wife and my daughter were still in Michigan. We were in that transition process. So I'm in Dallas, new job, don't have but a handful of hours of leave, and I had to be back in Chicago. I mean, I had to be back in Dallas for work on Monday. This is like Sunday. My flight, I was supposed to leave Saturday. My flight got delayed from Michigan on Saturday because of the weather. This was during last year. If y'all remember, in the Midwest, we had the polar vortex, like the real live shit of the polar vortex happening. And we had to, they canceled, they gave me the call or whatever. It was like at 3:00 in the afternoon. They gave me the call to say, hey, your flight's been canceled. Hopefully you can catch the next one out tomorrow. Okay, because that was just it. Nothing I could do, right? It just wasn't safe to fly. So that next day, I'm like, I got to get to the airport on time. I want to make sure I'm on the plane so we can get out of here. I want to get to Chicago so I can get to Dallas. And my flight got delayed in Michigan, in Grand Rapids. I'm at the Grand Rapids airport. It got delayed due to the weather. It was so cold. The planes were icing, the wings were icing, and they weren't going to let us fly. They have some chemical that they can spray on the airplane that keeps the ice from getting on the wings. It keeps, I don't know what it does to it, but it keeps the ice from getting on the wings so that the planes can still fly in some conditions. It was so cold that stuff was not working. So they were talking about saying, well, hey, we're going to try to see if we can spray down the plane. They sprayed the plane down twice to try to see if they could get it to work. And they said, if we can get this to work, we can go. But if not, can't go. Flight's going to be canceled. Airport's going to be shut down. Cool. So we out there and we waiting. We board the plane. They're like, yep, we going. They took us back off and said, no, we ain't going. Then about an hour later, they put us back on it and said, yeah, the conditions got a little bit better. We were able to keep the plane de-iced. Y'all out of here. Thank God. Get to Chicago. Same exact thing happens again, except in Chicago, they delayed us for like another hour and a half. And then they were like, look, the pilot got on and said, look, we've been delayed 3 times already within this past hour and a half from when we were supposed to leave. And they said, look, if we not out of here in the next 20 minutes, the airport is shutting down. They had closed down like 90% of the airport and 90% of the flights. And the only reason we were getting a chance to fly out was because we were already boarded and were already waiting at the terminal. We were already ready. We were literally like ready to go. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, if I don't get on this plane, I'm gonna miss my job tomorrow. I'm gonna have to call off. It's like that's gonna be looking bad. I only been there a few months. It's like I didn't want to do it. And I'm just sitting there praying and like, man, just get me out of here. Just get me out of here. Just get me out of here. Turned around, boom. Yep. Said we can get out of here. We taking off in like 10 minutes. Let's go. We all cheering. We flying. I'm like, I'll never fly during a polar vortex again, Lord. Get me out of here. And it's like they got us out of there, but they did it only because it was safe. It wasn't a thing of them chancing it. It wasn't a thing of, we had some dignitaries or some VIPs on the plane and they made a call like, no, we flying. There was none of that. And I said all of that to say this. There needs to be, I don't know if you want to call it a code, an unwritten rule, or whatever the case may be, where pilots, air traffic control, if it's not safe to fly, I don't give a damn if it's a paper airplane or if it's a fucking space shuttle. If it's grounded for everybody. Because if you're stopping air traffic, it has to be for a reason, right? That's what it should be. And that's how it should be. It's just like on 9/11 when they after them 2 planes hit, them 3 planes hit, and they said, "Look, no more planes in the air. You don't land, we gonna shoot you down." Wasn't no gray area in that. Land right where you at right now, or you getting shot down. They had to do that to make sure there were no more threats. It should be the same thing here. And if you do fly anyway, because you just a badass and you get that much clout, the fines and the amount of restrictions or whatever you should put on somebody should be so astronomical to where they won't do it. Pilots should lose their license for forever. You should be fined $500,000. I don't care how you got to pay it off. You can do it in a monthly payment or something, but you can't fly again until this debt is paid. That's what they should do. I'm just saying you have to draw the line somewhere, because this is not the first time this has happened. And I'm just saying, like I said, I'm just speculating if this is the case, and this is kind of like where everything's been leaning towards, is that they're saying that this happened because of the fact that they wasn't supposed to fly, conditions were not good, and they did it anyway. Anytime you're grounding safety, you're grounding all of the safety equipment where no cops, no fire department, no medical can fly, then that should pretty much be an indicator that any and everybody else shouldn't fly either. It should just be that cut and dry. So if that happens to where, and if somebody does do it, you have to log it. It has to. You can't find out who that person is. You got transponders and all that kind of stuff. If that happens, they need to make it such an egregious thing to do to where, man, they won't want to do it. Because at the worst case scenario of this, what's the worst thing that could have happened? A game got missed. You don't go, you get grounded. What's the worst that can happen? We don't make it to the game. That's the worst. We could have took a car, and they say LA traffic is the worst in the world. So maybe it took you an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever the case may be. If that's what it would have took, if you couldn't get there when you're in your Rolls Royce or your Lamborghini or your Yugo or whatever kind of car you got, so be it. Get you a police escort. Sure, you got enough clout for that? I don't know. But if that's what it would have took to keep these 9 people alive, it's worth it. It's worth it. I believe that there is a certain thing. I'm all for people being able to do what they want to do, unless you are physically hurting someone else. And in this situation, this was a clear safety issue. It just was. And it's like, if that was the case, I would really hope that this would be something that would absolutely be made to say, look, we're drawing the line here. Because you think about, this is the Kobe Bryant situation. You think about the Kennedy dude. You think about, I forget which Kennedy it was that died in a plane crash. They was trying to fly or something like that, and he died. You think about Aaliyah. You think about the dude, was that Richie Valens? He died in a plane crash during terrible weather. They were flying on a plane and didn't have to. It's like, it's too many things that can go wrong to where you just disregarding the safety aspect. Safety aspects are put in place for a reason. Think about how many people had to die before seatbelts became the law. Seatbelts were optional for a long time. I can remember when seatbelts were still an option. I can remember that. I remember when you didn't have to wear your seatbelt. Like, you getting pulled over, right? Aaliyah, exact same thing. Aaliyah and them told, how you gonna tell the pilot what the fuck y'all gonna do? No, not only are you gonna put all our shit on here, but you gonna fly all of us because we going to the other island and we all gonna go and we ain't gonna wait. Now, I get it from the pilot's perspective. They trying to make money and they trying to keep their job. But if they understand that, hey, I'm gonna lose my license for forever or lose it for 10 years, and then you gonna have to pay this immense fine, then that's gonna make everybody reason with it and say, you know what, nah, it ain't worth it. Somebody pay a $500,000 fine to go fly in some bad rain or in some fog or in a tornado and they die, so be it. You paid to go do that. That's all I'm saying. So it's like there's too much that's tied into this from a safety perspective as to where we should not just allow this to just go the way that it's going, because people are just making decisions because of what they're seeing right in front of their face, as opposed to the long-term effects of it. That's just my thing about the accident. As far as the athlete, in my opinion, Kobe Bryant is the number 2 greatest player of all time. There's Mike, and then there's Mamba. I will stand on that. Everybody can chat and say LeBron is the best. LeBron ain't, until he retire, I ain't talking about what he done did, because he done took too many L's. I'm just saying. You talk about Kobe and his L's, all you chalk it all up together. What he did from a statistical point, what he did from a leadership point, as a player on the court, the team leadership aspect, his killer instinct, the ability to just do the unthinkable, to do the impossible. Only other person I've seen do it better than him is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Old number 23, MJ. For those who know him personally, my man Black. It's the only person I've seen do it better than Kobe. The only person. And Kobe has said it himself plenty of times that he patterned his game after Mike. He followed Mike to the point to where his expressions were like Mike. The classic Mike hitting that shot, nailing that shot for that championship and doing this, Kobe did that exact same thing. The shot in the air and then doing the kick legs up in the air, he did the exact same thing. Tongue out. Several opportunities, several times that he's done that. So he patterned himself after MJ. And just when you talk about the just the all-time greats, you can't put nobody but Mike over this dude. Anybody else, you can probably compare him and say he close to it, but what he was able to do as a player, what he did, what he showed the world, that dude was he's definitely a legend. He will forever be remembered as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. If you talking top 5 greats, his name must be there, or you hating. Yeah, Wait, what's up, Super T? Yeah, I saw that helicopter thing. That's nothing, man. That I don't see no Illuminati or whatever that was. You know, I haven't seen that, because I think, as a matter of fact, I agree with what Tommy said earlier. Tommy said that, Kobe been flying for 20 years, man. So that was something that, anybody would have did that. I agree with him 1,000%. What Tommy said about that, I totally agree. I don't think it's no conspiracy or nothing like that. It is what it is. That's just like how people talk about on The Simpsons about Donald Trump becoming president. People may not remember this, but Donald Trump was asked about being a president back on Oprah in the 90s. 80s or 90s or whatever. Back when Oprah was Oprah Winfrey Show, when she was, "Hi, it's Oprah," and when she was doing that shit, she had Donald Trump on the show, and they were talking about just politics or whatever, and he was asked about being a president. So that led up to The Simpsons doing that thing about the president. That wasn't no Illuminati thing that they put out there, and that was how that came about. That was something that was always talked about. But yeah, so I saw that, but like I said, that I don't think there's no conspiracy behind that. I'm only this much of a conspiracy theorist. I don't go that far off into it. I give you about that much. If it was an attribute on a Madden game, my conspiracy theory would be 5. That's belief in conspiracy. My attribute for conspiracy would be a 5 out of 100. That's what it would be. So out of 99, rather, it would be 5. That's as much as you gonna get out of me for a conspiracy. So I'll look at the rabbit hole, I'll peek in it, but I don't go down that rabbit hole. I just don't. So um moving on to the man, Kobe Bryant. Um I definitely admire Kobe for just who he was, doing his thing his way. And a lot of people don't realize this, but Kobe wasn't your average hood dude. He wasn't no hood nigga. He grew up overseas for the most part. By the time he came to the States to like live, he was a teenager. He was ready to go into high school. So he did most of his childhood and all that stuff was done overseas. It was done abroad. So he was very cultured, well-rounded, had been exposed to so much. And then I know he spoke not Spanish, but he spoke Italian. I know he spoke Italian, but I don't know if he spoke any other language. I think he did. I'm not sure, but I know he definitely spoke Italian because he grew up in like Italy for so many years. Mm. But he wasn't your average hood dude, so he's seen as especially as a black man having Spanish, right? Well, yeah, because that's right, Spanish. Let me tell y'all something, and I didn't learn this until I actually traveled. I was in Mexico, and we were in Mexico at a resort on vacation. This was years ago. Actually, this was when my wife, she took me on this trip, but we was dating at that time. But anyway, we was in Mexico, and there were these ladies from Italy, and they were able to speak Spanish. And I did not know it at that time, but he spoke 9 languages. Damn, I didn't even know it was that many. But I didn't know until I was in Mexico, and these old Italian ladies were speaking to the workers in Spanish, where they were kind of like getting each other. I didn't know how close Italian was to Spanish. I didn't know that the languages were that close, and that was just one of the things I learned. I was like, how are y'all like able to like have, because they were like able to halfway like communicate with the workers there. And they were like, well, Italian is like Spanish. And I was like, it is? And she was like, think about it. And she started like senor and senor. I was like, oh yeah. And just like explaining stuff. And that's when I learned that. I did not know that Spanish and Italian were very close together. Like if you can speak Italian or you can speak Spanish, you can kind of pretty much for the most part understand the other. Yeah, and yep, and Portuguese. That's true, left third, and Portuguese. Yes, so it's all like very close. But yeah, so he spoke 9 different languages. So imagine like what type of person he was. He wasn't your average guy. So he seemed different to us, because we would expect somebody to be like, yeah, I'm representing, Southside Chicago, nigga, Wild Hunters, nigga. You would expect that, but he wasn't that. He was very cultured. He was very well-rounded. He had been exposed to so much of the world that we didn't know nothing about it. We just didn't have a clue. And it was just really something to see a man being that different. You know what I'm saying? And being able to just do the things he did, have game like he have, and be so different, just as a person and what he was. But I think that one of the biggest things about him too that I admired about him was that Kobe Bryant knew what he wanted to do and who he was, and he didn't apologize for it. The drive that he had, the determination that and this is the other thing I can compliment him on when it comes to just him and Michael Jordan. His competitive spirit, the nature in him to compete and be the best, work ethic, all of that. Like Mike. A lot of players today don't have half of the competitive nature that he had. Don't have half of the determination and the work ethic that he had. And it's like it's such a dying uh attribute that a lot of players today don't have. A lot of NBA players today, they don't want to work. They do not want to work. They don't want to put in that work, that practice, that consistency, especially once they make it. Now to get there, yeah, but once they arrive, then had a couple of highlight reels on ESPN and been the player of the week once or twice, They kind of figure like all I need now, they get that big contract. That's it. You don't see that same type of work ethic and that same type of determination that he had. And it's like that was definitely one of the things that I definitely admire about Michael Jordan. Mike worked hard to be the best and to stay on top. He definitely put in that work, and it showed. And Kobe had that same thing. Um, but that's definitely one of the things I admire about him. Was just as a man and a businessman. Kobe didn't let a lot of the noise distract him. And that takes a tremendous amount of focus. And I will attribute some of that to him having a father. Yes, his father was Jelly Bean Bryant. He played in the NBA, played for the shit, not the Bucks, the Sixers. He played for the Sixers, and he had a good temperament. Whatever Kobe was experiencing, on a mental level, coming in as a high school kid, playing in this game, competing the way he competed, he had the mental fortitude to do it. And it's like, and it's like, even, and one of the things that I didn't like either that I heard yesterday was that they brought up the issue about him and his wife, Vanessa, about him, going through with the rape allegations and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, that was one time, one thing, and what he did for 20 plus years, what was the point in like mentioning that? And that's one of the reasons. Matter of fact, I'm not going to even mention that. Let me keep moving. But as a man, I really do admire the fact that he had the mental fortitude to do what he did, to stay on the position, in the position that he stayed in, and to as being the best. Once Mike left, it was Kobe. The only other person that even contended to be better than or as good as Kobe was D Wade. Until LeBron came, it was Kobe, D Wade. People could talk about Paul Pierce and all that, but they never competed on that level. Only other person that competed on that level that he did was D Wade. That's just saying. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. But D Wade was the only other person that came in and like had the type of killer instinct, the competitiveness, and the drive, and just the sheer ability to dominate in a game like Kobe was Dwayne. Wait, not Dwayne, but Dwayne. But yeah, I definitely admired him for that. Last but not least, the father. And I think that this is probably the biggest part, or the biggest tragedy about this. And I'm gonna say this. Kobe Bryant was 41. And Kobe Bryant at 41 lived a tremendous life. He accomplished an unimaginable amount of success. The things that he did in 41 years. And even somebody said it today. I think it was the Colin Hurd. I think he said it. Kobe Bryant was a Laker and played professional basketball for over 20 years. He came into the league at 18 or 17. He was a Laker longer than he was alive. And I said, wow. Think about that. If he came into the league at 17, 18 years old and played for the Lakers for 20 years, he was a professional basketball player longer than he was alive. I mean, not longer than he was alive, but longer than he wasn't. He played basketball more than half of his life as a professional. He played basketball as a Laker more than he did as not being a Laker and a professional basketball player. Now, you take those 20 years, you take what he did as far as endorsements, the deals with Nike, didn't he have Adidas at one point? Wasn't he Adidas first, then went Nike? But the endorsements that he had, and even the endorsements he lost and then got back, you take into the account that this dude, how many NBA players, how many athletes have then had the career that he had, 5 championships, the gold medals, the all-star teams, the MVPs, all of those accolades, and then you retire and get an Academy Award. Dude won an Oscar. How many people get to do that? And it's like his life and what he gave to the world, what we're able to watch here in this highlight reel, just as what he was able to do. He has lived a life that people will never get to live in 41 years. He's lived what some people would, I mean, in 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. People can't accomplish what he did in 41. What he did in 41 years, some people couldn't accomplish in 80. So you think about that, and I say that part to say this. The biggest tragedy in all of this, it's his daughter. It's those little girls that were on that plane, because they will never get to be adults. Gigi will never get to be married. She will never get to fall in love. She will never get to go to the WNBA. We will never see the potential of what those girls had to offer the world. Because especially for Gigi, the stage was set. The stage was set for her to offer something to the world as Gigi Bryant. We'll never get to see that. She did not get to live a fourth of the life that her father lived. She didn't get to travel across the world. She didn't get to play on a professional level. She didn't get to play on a high school level. She didn't get to play on a college level. She did not get or will not get the opportunity to live a full life anywhere close to what her father did. And that is the tragedy, in my opinion. The biggest tragedy of it all are those girls that were on that helicopter. They don't get the chance. They will never get to be an icon. They will never get to be an MVP. They will never get to be a celebrity. They will never get to be a gold medalist. They will never get to have their moment on stage and be able to show the world what they got, what they have to offer. Time and time again, there will always be Kobe Bryant moments. We will always be able to reflect on Kobe Bryant and his moments on the court and off the court. He's done plenty of video breakdowns about the game. He's talked about the competitive nature, what it takes to be an athlete, what it takes to be able to compete on this level, the work ethic that it takes to do what it is that he does or that he did. You will always be able to reference that. But we will never hear Gigi's story. We will never hear those other girls that were on that plane's story. And to just bring it back full circle, him as a father is way more important than him being an athlete and a man and a husband. Because we will miss Kobe Bryant, but his daughters, they need Kobe Bryant. I'll say that again. We will always and forever miss Kobe Bryant. But his daughters, his wife, they need Kobe Bryant. They need him to be home. They need him to talk to as a dad. They need him to wipe their tears, to answer their questions, to when they want to know about boys, when it's time for them to get engaged, when it's time for them to get married, when it's time for them to have children. They will need him more than we ever will. And to understand and to grasp that and to realize that they will never have him in that capacity, that's where the tragedy is. Those four ladies, his wife and his three living daughters, They will have a hole in their lives that will never, ever be filled. They will now have to carry on without the most important man in their lives. And yes, has Kobe Bryant left a tremendous legacy for his children? Absolutely. Has he left a legacy and lived a life for his children to be proud of, for his wife to be proud of? Absolutely. What he has done and built for the Bryant name will forever be enshrined in history, will never be forgotten. But you count all of that up, every award, every stat, every business move. Kobe was worth $500 million, $500 million. You can count all of that up, and it will never amount or be able to compare or to weigh or to measure up to the need that those girls will have for their dad. And the reason why I said I was angry or pissed off is because when you weigh that against taking a flight that you shouldn't have taken because it was foggy outside to get to a game, it will never balance. To every rich person out there, and I'm going to end it with this. To every rich person that's out there, to every person that has a G5, every person that has their helicopters, you got your crew, your yachts, your planes, your private jets, you got all of that. You fly a plane, you bought a plane, you got 8 planes, you got 2 hangars. To all of you all that are fortunate enough to be able to fly private, to all of you all who have the financial ability to buy your own aircraft, do yourself, your family, and the world a favor. Keep it current and up to date and fly safe. Just fly safe. That's it. You have the money. Yes, you have the power, you have the clout, you have it all. Don't affect me one way or the other, but you have so many other people that are depending on you and your legacy and you just being in their lives. Fly safe. Keep your aircraft material, your aircraft up to date. Kobe was flying a plane that was 28 years old. Not to say that a brand new plane couldn't have happened or what would have happened. Not to say that that's the case, but I'm just saying sometimes you look at these aircrafts and it is the fact that they're old as shit and something failed. Sometimes you look at these aircrafts and it is something where, oh, they didn't do this safety check. Or sometimes it's just as simple as saying they shouldn't have never flown in the conditions that they flew in. They shouldn't have put as much weight in the aircraft that they did. They shouldn't have forced the pilot to fly in the weather that was at hand at the moment. Maybe you just might have to cancel a meeting. You just might miss an appointment. You might not make it home in time for Christmas. You might not make it home in time for Thanksgiving. You might have to miss a birthday or a wedding or a bar mitzvah or whatever the case may be. You just might have to miss an appointment. It's better to miss an appointment and reschedule, miss a moment and talk about that moment of you not being able to be there to make this deal or to be able to make this purchase or to be able to see this moment. It's better for you to be alive to talk about it and regret missing it than for others to be talking about you and remembering you like I'm doing right now. Because I guarantee you, those moments, those final moments of those 9 people being on that plane, they didn't give a damn about that game. They didn't give a damn about being late. They didn't give a damn about being on time. They didn't give a damn about possibly missing that game. All they cared about was being able to be with their loved ones and to be alive. That's it. Men, women, children, we all have a responsibility to each other. And that responsibility is to be there with each other and to be there for each other. Be there to take care of each other, to help each other. Be there just to be there. That's all. Kobe Bryant, you will be missed. You left a legacy that some will never ever measure up to, but you set a bar and you were an example for athletes all across the world. You are also an example as a man for men all across the world. And you were an example for fathers to be fathers all across the world. Thank you for your contribution to this world. Thank you for your contribution as a man. Thank you for your contribution as a father. And thank you for your contribution as an athlete. Rest well, Black Mamba. Job well done. And to those other survivors, to Lil Gigi and everybody else that did not make it, may you rest well too. You will be missed by many. You will never be forgotten. I am Brian Redmond. This is the Relationship Rehab. I hope that this video helps somebody become a better version of themselves. And I hope that this video reaches some rich, wealthy, just I got so much money, I don't know what to do with it, will make one of them think a little bit different about traveling private. I hope that above nothing else, above everything else, that it will help somebody that flies private think a little bit harder and a little bit better about what they're doing so that we don't have to do this anymore. You guys have a good night. I think I may be back to celebrate my birthday and just talk some talk and hang out with y'all, but I might just call it a night. Thank you guys. Peace, and I'm out.
Visit us at thecitybeats.com.